Is the cruise industry heading for a reckoning? Maybe an extinction or two? Let's talk about it. So hey, if this is your first time checking out one of my videos, my channel is all about getting you on the biggest cruise lines without paying cruise fare and for a lot less through casino comps. If you're subscribed or have checked out some of my other videos before, thank you so much. And I just want to let you know that my content isn't changing. I'm going to continue to find ways to save you money, earn comps easier and cheaper, and let's get on cruise ships as much as we possibly can for less. I also want you to know the content in this video is basically my opinion from what I'm seeing from various sources. There's no real vetted articles that are saying that these things will necessarily happen. Also, I know my thumbnail might look a little clickbaity. I try not to do that, but I truly do believe that some of the things that I'm talking about may happen in the industry. All right, so getting that all out of the way, let's get started. The cruise industry has a ton of challenges on the horizon. They're facing a lot of the same problems that Las Vegas is living right now. And I'm sure you've seen videos or you've heard, especially if you like to gamble, how dead it is in Vegas and how desperate these big casino chains are to get you in. So cruising has a lot of the same problems, and then they have some additional problems as well. So right now, they're experiencing less bookings. I know this for a couple of reasons. First of all, a couple of friends that I have are travel agents are seeing that in the booking engine. Second of all, I can see by some of the offers I'm getting on some big ships that you couldn't get offers for before, and now there's a ton open, especially in months like October and November and before Christmas. There are a lot of cabins still available to be booked. And this is across a bunch of different lines. So now this is for a bunch of different reasons, including increased inventory via new ships and new players in the industry, the economy and concerns with whether it's going to get worse, people losing their jobs, that kind of thing. And then also people just not traveling to the United States right now. I go more into depth about all of that in a previous video on my channel and how that's leading to better comps. You can find that, I'll link it in the description. So let's talk about more cabins and more competition. So over the last 5 or 6 years, we've had MSC come aggressively into the US market. That's a lot of inventory right there. We've had Margaritaville at Sea growing and continuing to grow, so they're adding inventory, of course. And of course, Virgin Voyages came into the market and started adding ships as well. So that alone is just adding a ton of inventory. So let's talk about new ships coming online and how that affects inventory. There are 4 ships that are coming online or have already started sailing this year. They're all big ships too. Norwegian Aqua, MSC World America. Those are both sailing already. They started this spring. And then both the Stars, Royal Caribbean Star of the Seas, and then Star Princess also coming online. So let's do a little calculation. Between those 4 ships, that is 8,800 cabins that have come online. If you want to do a fair kind of guess about how long sailings are, we could say averaged out 5-day sailings would be pretty fair. So if you extrapolate those numbers, that's nearly 650,000 new booking opportunities every single year, just between these 4 ships. That's huge. Now let's talk about some other new ships coming online and how the cruise industry is expanding still. Carnival has 2 XL ships coming online, Festival and Tropical in 27 and 28. Those are big ships. They've also got a new class of ship called Project Ace, which will start rolling out ships in 29. Royal Caribbean, of course, has Star coming out next month. Plus, they have another Icon class ship coming out, Legend of the Seas, next year. And then they have another Icon class coming out in 27 and an Oasis class coming out in 28. There's also a rumored Discovery class, which is supposed to be a series of medium-sized ships, and that's in development, and they're planning for 29 for those. Margaritaville at Sea has a new ship coming out next year. Disney has 4 new ships coming out starting in 27. MSC has 4 world-class ships on order. These are big ships. World Asia is coming out in 26, which will be Mediterranean, and World Atlantic will be hitting the Caribbean market in 27. So we're talking about millions of bookings being added to inventory as we go along. Now, of course, ships will be retired, but this is still going to put upward pressure on pricing and increase the overall booking inventory. The reason it'll put upward pressure on pricing is because these ships will be new and they want to recoup the huge cost of these ships of $1 billion plus. So they raise prices. All of these ships also have a bunch of add-ons too that cost more money when you get on board. What else is happening in the cruise industry that's causing problems? Well, first of all, it looks like Royal Caribbean is going all in on private resorts. You kind of see why they're doing it. They want to capture your dollars no matter where you are, right? So not only on the ship, but when you leave the ship as well. They want to funnel you into private experiences. They've got Coco Cay. They've got the Beach Club coming up in Nassau that's supposed to open up very soon. They've got one in Mexico. I think they've got another one coming up. So they're all in on these private resorts. Now, so far, Coco Cay is the only one that you have no choice to go to besides Labadee, but who knows if Labadee is going to ever reopen again. Another problem is that, you know, as these new ships come online, like I mentioned, there is more that you spend on these ships. Experiences, food, everything seems to cost more. So you've got higher cruise fares, more spends when you're on the ship, more spends when you're off the ship, because if you go to one of their private resorts, you're likely going to pay more, especially as they transition a bit to these, you know, our drink packages aren't valid, like what Carnival has done with Celebration Key. So this is a real problem, right? Demand is going down. People are traveling less, people are spending less, and now they're adding more and more inventory, and they're trying to get more and more money out of you every sailing. So what's going to happen? Well, people are going to cruise less. Obviously, they're not going to have the money for vacations, and these vacations are going to cost a lot more. So maybe a family that cruises once a year might do it every 2 years, or they might do something different every second year because it's cheaper. Maybe they go and stay in state and go to a national park or something like that. And as economic pressures happen, and with less and less people traveling to the States for tourism, this is only going to exacerbate the problem. And the worst part is we haven't even seen the worst yet. We really haven't officially entered a recession here in the States and in Canada and other places in Europe, for instance, but it's most likely coming. With all the trade wars and all the other stuff that's happening, prices are going to go up. People are already losing their jobs, which is going to be very bad for our economy, our global economy. The cruise industry doesn't really see those impacts immediately like they do on the back end, because people generally book months or sometimes even years in advance, right? So they're looking forward to their bookings in October, November, December, spring of next year, all through 2026. And they're seeing they're not hitting their numbers for filling these ships. That's going to continue to get worse because people just aren't going to book. So, having said all of that, I've already talked about how this could help you right now when it comes to casino comps and getting deals. You're already seeing on Royal Caribbean's website, they're lowering prices for packages, and with their dynamic pricing structure, that's kind of automatic, right? The prices go up or down depending on how much inventory is available. Will they hit that further? They probably won't mess with their dynamic pricing, but they might introduce things like third and fourth guest sail for free, second guest gets 50% off, that kind of thing. They may start introducing that kind of stuff. So that's all the good stuff. But for the industry, it could be really bad. I think that cruise lines are going to accelerate the retirement of older, smaller ships for a number of reasons. Number one, those ships are way less efficient and way more expensive to run per cruiser. The bigger ships have higher revenue streams, and you can kind of spread the cost of operating the ship amongst more people. Also, older ships have less amenities and less things to spend money on. And of course, once they get you on board, they want you to spend your money. Another thing that might end up happening is, all those ships that I told you that are planned and on order, we might start seeing cancellations of these orders that are not being built yet. Like I said, these are giant investments. These ships cost over $1 billion. And if they're seeing that the inventory is not getting sold today, they may just hold off, defer, or delay, or cancel outright. When it comes to Royal Caribbean specifically, I could definitely see them expanding their Oasis and Icon class sailing lengths. Right now, they're banking on, 3 and 4 nights on a lot of these ships because they want to turn that ship over. They know people have a limited amount of money, and also they can charge higher fares because they look smaller on a 4-day sailing. So if they're trying to get, let's say they're trying to get $500 a day, that on a 4-night or a 3-night is $1,500 or $2,000. On a 7-night, that's an expensive cruise. So what they might have to end up doing is expanding some of these itineraries on these ships, reducing the price, and hoping that they recoup some of this on-ship spend. Rolling back perks. We've already seen Carnival try at this and get absolutely roasted for it. They are trying to retire their VIFP loyalty club that gives people a lot of great perks and then replace it with Carnival Rewards, which is a dollar spend rewards program, not loyalty. So it doesn't matter how long you've been with Carnival, the more you spend, the more you get back. Now, people are very mad about this, and they should be. Can you imagine if you've sailed with Carnival for 25 years, you got all of these rewards, and now they're trying to retire them? That's crazy. Now, will other cruise lines follow suit? We haven't heard a sniff of it yet, but Royal Caribbean has a real problem when it comes to their loyalty program. They did double points through COVID. They've given a lot of Crown and Anchor points from casino comps, which really surprises me. I'm surprised they didn't say if you get comps, you don't get the Crown and Anchor points. That might be something that they do as kind of a rollback. But they have a lot of people at higher tiers. They get really serious benefits like 4 or 5 drinks a day, free laundry, free Wi-Fi, all of that kind of stuff. Now, I don't think that Royal Caribbean will risk rolling back those perks and really angering their loyal customers. What they may end up doing, though, is they may end up adding some tiers to try to encourage people to sail more to hit those tiers and the perks. That's something I could see them doing. They might also do smaller things that will annoy us as regular cruisers. Like, for instance, with the Prime program, you get free drinks when you earn Prime for the entire year that you're sailing. And even though they've always said that you need to be actively playing to get those drinks, they have never, ever enforced that. You can walk into the casino as a Prime member, sit at the bar for all night and drink, and they will never charge you. They may implement enforcement similar to what you see on Carnival, where you actually have to be actively playing. That would save them quite a bit of money in liquor expense and also encourage people to spend on drink packages and stuff to generate more revenue. Here is the big one. It is not outside the realm of possibility that we may see a couple of cruise lines or a cruise line actually go bankrupt and cease to exist. Now, if this happens, it'll be more likely to be one of these smaller cruise lines, but I'm thinking of Norwegian Cruise Line. Norwegian Cruise Line really suffered through COVID. They leveraged themselves heavily to stay afloat through COVID. And right now they are absolutely leveraged to the max. It actually surprises me that they're rolling out new ships. I don't know where they're coming up with the capital for this, but if they have another really bad spell, like if they can't have bookings, if they start losing money again, it's not outside the realm of possibility that they could go bankrupt, maybe merge with one of the bigger lines, or just cease to exist and sell off their ships. I don't think this is super likely, but it's definitely possible. What I think is more likely is some of the big cruise lines might sell off some of their sub-brands. Maybe an Azamara, or, maybe with Carnival, maybe they finally get rid of Costa. Maybe they retire that line. Maybe they consolidate. They've got Costa, they've got Cunard, they've got Princess and Carnival. Maybe they just break it down. They have one, regular brand and one luxury brand to try to save some money. It's going to be really interesting. I think the good news for us as cruisers, at least over the next year, is that we're going to see downward pressure on cruise fares. We're going to see deals when it comes to, things like drink packages and Wi-Fi and excursions. They will do whatever they can to try and get people back on board. And like I said, right now, people just can't afford it the way it is. What do you guys think? I want to hear your opinions. Am I way off base? Do you think some of these things will happen? Tell me in the comments. And as always, thank you for watching.